I'm Liam, 35. For 13 years, I truly believed my wife, Fiona, was the most honest person I knew, my unwavering rock. Last Tuesday, in a rundown motel parking lot on the Oregon coast, I watched her passionately kiss Garrett Vance, a local fishing captain. Was it just an affair? No. Within hours, I unearthed drained bank accounts, burner phones, and a chilling conversation about stopping someone permanently. Everything I thought was real unraveled in less than 72 hours, plunging me into a nightmare. Fiona was home, humming, arranging her ceramic birds, utterly unaware her world was about to collapse. Before I do, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story earns it. Drop your city and your local time in the comments. I like knowing who's out there. 20 minutes later, Liam installed a quarter-sized device into Fiona's oversized leather keychain, adorned with a tiny, handcrafted ceramic bird. She'd never noticed the extra weight. That evening, Fiona was unusually attentive, cooking his favorite seafood stew, wearing that forest green dress he liked, touching his arm constantly. Classic deflection behavior. "How was your day?" she asked, refilling his local craft beer. "Routine, yours?" "Same old drama with the Sellers Guild," her laugh sounded forced. "Sometimes I think we're all just playing shop." Liam studied her face, the faint lines around her eyes, the way her lips curved into a practiced smile. "Is everything perfect, Fiona?" Fear flickered across her features, a fleeting shadow, before the smile returned, brighter, almost brittle. "Of course." "Why? Is something wrong?" "No reason. Just wondering if there's anything you want to tell me." Fiona's hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. "Like what?" "Like why you're lying about the money." The silence stretched, taut and dangerous, like a line cast into rough seas. Fiona's breathing became shallow, almost imperceptible. "I don't know what you mean," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'll ask you one more time. Where did the money go?" Fiona's eyes filled with real tears this time, glistening in the soft kitchen light. "It's complicated." "Uncomplicated?" Liam's voice was sharp, cutting through the pretense. She stood abruptly, pushing her chair back with a scrape. "I can't. Not yet. Please, just trust me." "Trust." Something cold and hard entered Liam's tone. "Trust is earned, Fiona. Right now, you're bankrupting that account, too." She fled upstairs, leaving Liam with tactical calculations running through his mind. Phase 1 complete. Now came surveillance. The GPS tracker painted a clear picture over the next week. Normal patterns: the local farmer's market, the pottery studio, the quaint coffee shop downtown. Except for Tuesday afternoon. Liam watched the blinking dot move to the Coastal Haven Inn, a slightly run-down motel on the edge of town, and stay for exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes. Thursday, same thing. Friday, Liam took a half-day and drove there himself. He parked behind a row of delivery vans, obscured from view, and waited. At 2:47 p.m., Fiona's white Subaru Crosstrek pulled in, followed closely by a dark gray Ford F-150. Liam recognized the driver, Garrett Vance, a local fishing charter captain, married to Sarah, about Liam's age, with a weathered smile that probably charmed tourists and got him out of minor infractions. Garrett walked to Fiona's car, leaned down, and kissed her. Not friendly, not a casual greeting, but familiar and hungry. Liam gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles went white, but didn't move. He just watched as his wife and her lover walked into room 127. 2 hours and 23 minutes later, they emerged. They kissed again, a lingering embrace, before Fiona drove away, leaving Garrett to make an increasingly agitated phone call. Liam waited until both vehicles had left, then approached the motel office. The clerk was a woman with tired eyes and a perpetual cigarette scent clinging to her faded uniform. "Help you?" she asked, her voice raspy. Looking for someone who might have stayed here Tuesday, Liam said, showing his Coast Guard ID. Official business? The woman's demeanor shifted, a flicker of apprehension in her gaze. What kind of official business? The kind that pays better than whatever they're paying you to keep quiet. Liam placed a $50 bill on the counter. Room 127. Tuesday afternoon. The woman palmed the 50. Garrett Vance. Pays cash, weekly rate. 3 months, always with the same blonde. Tuesday and Thursday, regular as clockwork. Sometimes Friday. Liam nodded, his jaw tight, and turned to leave. Walking to his car, Liam felt a chilling clarity. The enemy was identified. The battlefield mapped. Someone was blackmailing his wife. Someone who knew about Garrett. Someone systematically draining their account. Liam was going to find out who. Liam spent the weekend locked in his home office, spreading intelligence like tactical pieces, bank statements, GPS data, photos of Garrett's license plate. The breakthrough came cross-referencing Holdings with Garrett's background. Garrett Vance, married to Sarah Vance. Holdings. Martha Holdings. Martha was Sarah's maiden name. Liam pulled up Sarah's online profile. A successful event planner, wine connoisseur, devoted wife, according to her curated posts. But recent updates had an edge. Passive-aggressive quotes about loyalty and betrayal. Photos of extravagant purchases with captions about treating herself and new beginnings. A woman whose world was falling apart, fighting back. Monday morning, Liam accessed Garrett's employment records through a contact at the harbor master's office. The Vance residence was in the Harbor View Estates subdivision, 15 minutes from the base. Nice houses, manicured lawns, a decorative lighthouse statue on the mailbox. Liam drove through that evening, noting the layout, street patterns, blind spots. Sarah's white Audi was in the driveway. 20 minutes later, Sarah emerged in a sleek tracksuit and running shoes. Liam followed her to a bustling cafe called The Anchor's Brew. Sarah sat alone at a corner table, laptop open, furiously typing. Liam ordered a black coffee and positioned himself to subtly see her screen. She was composing an email. Subject line, final payment. Liam caught fragments, told you this would end. My patience is exhausted. Consequences for both of you. When Sarah left, she drove to a local print shop and spent 10 minutes at a computer terminal. She left with a small, discreet package. Liam approached the young clerk. Coast Guard discount? He showed his ID. Yes, sir. What can I help you with? The woman who just left, blonde hair, white Audi. Did she print something? The clerk looked nervous. I can't really discuss. Liam leaned closer. She's involved in a security matter. I just need to know what kind of documents. Photos, the clerk said reluctantly. Maybe 30 or 40 prints and some kind of letter. Liam nodded and left, his pulse hammering. Photos, letters, final payment. Sarah Vance wasn't just blackmailing Fiona. She was escalating. Tuesday arrived with storm clouds building over the Oregon coast. Liam sat outside the Coastal Haven Inn, watching through binoculars. Fiona arrived first, clearly agitated. When Garrett's F-150 pulled up, their conversation through her car window looked heated. Garrett gestured frantically, shaking his head. Fiona was crying. Finally, they went inside. Liam waited 15 minutes, then walked to the office. The same clerk was behind the counter. They're fighting today, she said without being asked, her voice a low, gravelly whisper. Who? Liam asked, feigning ignorance. Your blonde and her boyfriend. Usually lovey-dovey, but today they're going at it like cats and dogs. Liam handed her another 50. I need to get closer. What room joins 127? 126 is empty, but I can't just. You can and you will, Liam said with command authority, his voice firm and unwavering. National security. Room 126 smelled of stale cigarettes and industrial cleaner. Liam positioned himself against the adjoining wall and listened. Voices were muffled but audible, rising and falling in intensity. Told you this would happen. Garrett's voice was angry and desperate. You said she was bluffing. Fiona, tearful and furious, retorted, how was I supposed to know she had photos? Christ, Garrett, she's been following us for months. What do we do now? She wants 10 grand or she's sending everything to Liam. Talk to her. Lie to her. Make her believe we're not lovers anymore. Fiona pleaded. She won't stop with 10,000. This is just the beginning. Footsteps shuffled. Then Fiona's voice, cold and calculating in a way Liam had never heard. Then we stop her first. What do you mean? Garrett asked after a stunned pause. I mean, we make sure she can't hurt us anymore. Fiona, you can't be serious. Dead serious. She wants to play games. Fine. But I'm not losing everything because your wife can't handle being cheated on. Liam's blood turned to ice. He was listening to his wife plot someone's end in a cheap motel room with her lover, discussing permanent silence. Liam slipped out and walked to his car on unsteady legs. Everything he thought he knew about Fiona was crumbling into dust. His phone buzzed. Fiona, working late tonight. Don't wait up. Liam typed back, no problem. As he drove home, Liam was planning his next move. He wasn't dealing with just an affair anymore. He was dealing with conspiracy. If Fiona and Garrett were planning to hurt Sarah, Liam needed to act fast. Not to save his marriage, that was already ended. But to save a life and ensure justice. Liam's house felt like a crime scene. Every familiar object now seemed evidence of a lie. He poured a glass of single malt whiskey and researched everything on Sarah Vance. According to her online profile, she taught yoga at Zenith Wellness and had a class every Tuesday at 7 p.m. It was 6:15. Liam grabbed his keys. He waited in the parking lot until class ended and students filed out. Sarah was last, carrying her yoga mat and water bottle, moving with an exhausted grace. Mrs. Vance, Liam said, stepping into the neon glow of the studio sign. She spun around, defensive. Yes. I'm Lieutenant Liam O'Connell. We need to talk. Recognition flickered in her eyes, followed by a surge of fear. I don't know. Who are you? My wife, your husband, the money you've been demanding, the photos you've been threatening to release, and the conversation I overheard at the coastal haven 2 hours ago. Sarah went white, her eyes darting around, looking for escape routes. Are you wearing a wire? No. I'm here to warn you. Warn me about what? Liam stepped closer, noting her shaking hands. Fiona and Garrett are planning to hurt you. Seriously hurt you. They're not going to keep paying, and they won't let you keep threatening them. Sarah's laugh was bitter, a harsh, humorless sound. So, you're here to save me? The woman blackmailing your wife? I'm here to prevent someone from getting hurt. What happens between you and them after that is up to lawyers and courts. You don't understand, Sarah said, tears welling in her eyes, spilling down her cheeks. He's been lying for months, coming home with her floral scent on his clothes, spending our money on hotels and gifts. I found credit card statements. I followed them. I took pictures. And you decided to make Fiona pay instead of divorcing him. Divorcing him doesn't give me back 3 years I wasted believing his lies. It doesn't compensate for the humiliation of knowing half the harbor wives were laughing behind my back. She broke off, sobbing, all pretense gone. Liam waited until her breathing steadied. How much have you collected? 12,000, she whispered, her voice raw. I was going to ask for 10 more and stop. I just wanted them to suffer a little, to know what it felt like to lose something they cared about. Congratulations, you've succeeded. But now they're talking about making sure you can't hurt them anymore. And I don't think they mean more money. Sarah looked up, her eyes red-rimmed and wide with dawning horror. What do you mean? You need to go to the police tonight. Tell them everything. The affair, the blackmail, the threats. Get it on record before something happens. But I'll be arrested for extortion, maybe. But you'll be alive to face those charges. Liam pulled out a business card and wrote his cell number. When you talk to police, tell them I'm willing to testify about what I heard today. The conversation about stopping you permanently. Sarah took the card with trembling fingers. Why are you helping me? I've been tormenting your wife. Liam looked at this broken woman, driven to desperate measures by betrayal. Because nobody deserves what they're planning. And sometimes doing the right thing matters more than personal loyalty. He turned to leave, then paused. Mrs. Vance, if you don't go to the police tonight, I will, and I'll tell them everything I know about all three of you. Liam drove home through the gathering storm. When he reached his driveway, Fiona's car wasn't there. According to the GPS, she was at Garrett's house. His phone rang at 11:47 p.m. Lieutenant O'Connell. Speaking. Detective Maria Santos, Portland PD. We just had an interesting conversation with Sarah Vance. She says you suggested she contact us. Correct. We need you to come in tomorrow morning. There are serious allegations, and your testimony could be crucial. Liam stared out at the rain pelting the windows. I'll be there. One more thing, Lieutenant. Where is your wife tonight? Liam checked the GPS. Fiona's that was still at Garrett's house. I believe she's with the other subject of Mrs. Vance's complaint. Garrett Vance. Yes. There was a pause on the line. Lieutenant, we're sending a patrol car for a wellness check on Mrs. Vance. Based on what she's told us, we believe she might be in immediate danger. I think that's wise, Detective. Liam sat in darkness until dawn, watching his wife's GPS that remained stubbornly at Garrett's house. When the sun finally rose, painting the storm clouds gold and crimson, Fiona still hadn't come home. Liam realized he was about to lose everything he'd built his life around. But for the first time in months, he could breathe. The Portland PD interview room smelled of burnt coffee and disinfectant. Detective Santos was compact, with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. From the beginning, Lieutenant O'Connell, she said, activating a recorder. When did you first become aware of your wife's affair? Liam recounted everything methodically, the missing money, the anonymous messages, his surveillance, the motel conversation. Santos took notes, occasionally clarifying, but mostly listening with focused attention. And you believe Mrs. Fiona O'Connell and Mr. Garrett Vance were planning to physically harm Mrs. Sarah Vance? Based on the conversation I heard, yes. Fiona specifically said they needed to stop her first and wouldn't let Sarah destroy her life. Garrett seemed reluctant, but didn't try to talk her out of it. Santos consulted her notes. Mrs. Sarah Vance came in last night around 10 p.m. She provided extensive documentation, bank records, photographs, email correspondence, also disturbing text messages from yesterday evening from Fiona. An unknown number, but threatening content. Stop now or face consequences. You've pushed this too far. Some people don't know when to quit. We're tracing the number, but it appears to be a burner phone. Liam felt a cold, hard certainty settle in his gut. Where is my wife now? We don't know. Patrol units went to your home and Mr. Vance's residence early this morning. Neither location showed occupancy. Both vehicles missing. They're running. That's our assessment. We've issued BOLOs for both individuals and vehicles. We also have units protecting Mrs. Vance. She's agreed to cooperate fully. Santos leaned forward. Final question. Are you willing to testify against your wife if this goes to trial? Liam looked at his wedding band, then slowly pulled it off and set it on the table. Yes. I'll testify to everything I've seen and heard. Walking out, Liam felt like he was emerging from an underground bunker. His phone had 17 missed calls and 43 texts from Fiona, progressing from desperation to thinly veiled threats. Liam, where are you? We need to talk. Police came to Garrett's house. What did you tell them? I can explain everything. Please call. You don't understand what's really happening. The final message, if you won't listen to reason, you'll have to live with the consequences. Liam forwarded everything to Santos, then drove to base for emergency leave. Commander Hayes approved without questions. Family emergency? Something like that. I may need to extend depending on developments. Take care of yourself, Lieutenant. The Coast Guard takes care of its own. Liam spent the afternoon packing Fiona's belongings into boxes. 6 years of shared life reduced to cardboard containers in the garage. At 4:17 p.m., his doorbell rang. Through the peephole, Liam saw two people he didn't recognize. A tall man in an expensive suit and a woman with silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. Federal agents. Lieutenant O'Connell. Agent Rebecca Martinez, FBI. This is Agent David Chen. We'd like to speak about Garrett Vance. Liam opened the door. FBI. I thought this was local. Mr. Vance holds security clearance and works classified maritime defense contracts, Martinez explained. His situation has raised concerns about potential security violations. They sat in Liam's living room while Chen explained that Garrett's access to sensitive coastal logistics information, combined with his personal crisis and criminal activity, had triggered a federal investigation. We're particularly concerned about his recent behavior, Chen said. In the past week, he's accessed files related to port security protocols, personnel records, and shipping schedules that have nothing to do with his assigned projects. You think he's selling information? Liam asked, a new wave of cold dread washing over him. We think he's a man under extreme pressure who suddenly has access to valuable intelligence, Martinez replied, her gaze steady. People in his situation sometimes make poor decisions. Chen leaned forward. Lieutenant, we know you've been tracking your wife's movements. Any idea where they might have gone? Liam pulled up his GPS tracker app. Fiona's that had been stationary for 3 hours near Bend, Oregon. According to this, she's near Bend, but I don't know if she's still with Garrett or if they've separated. The agents exchanged quick, meaningful glances. Lieutenant, we need you to come with us. If Garrett Vance is planning something desperate, your wife may be in danger, regardless of her involvement. What kind of danger? Martinez stood up, her expression grim. The kind where people don't survive to face trial. The GPS led them to an abandoned lumber mill complex outside Bend. Empty warehouses, rusted machinery, and stacks of decaying timber from a defunct operation. Garrett's F-150 and Fiona's Subaru were parked behind the largest building, hidden from the main road. The FBI tactical team moved with practiced efficiency, surrounding the sprawling structure while Liam waited in an armored vehicle with Martinez and Chen. Through his earpiece, he heard the team leader coordinating. Alpha team in position. Bravo team in position. No movement visible. Copy. Move in. The breach was swift, a controlled explosion of sound. Within minutes, the report came back. Building secure. 2 subjects in custody. No weapons found. Subjects appear to have been arguing when we arrived. Martinez turned to Liam. We're bringing them out separately. Are you prepared to see your wife? Liam nodded, though he wasn't sure he was. Garrett emerged first, hands zip-tied, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 10 hours. Wrinkled clothes, unkempt hair, the hollow eyes of someone who'd realized the full scope of his mistakes. Fiona came next. Liam barely recognized her. The polished artisan facade had completely cracked, revealing desperation and fury beneath. Smeared makeup, tangled hair, and when she saw Liam through the tinted windows, her expression twisted with a rage he'd never seen directed at him. "You did this," she screamed, struggling against the agent holding her. "You destroyed everything." Chen got out and approached Fiona. "Mrs. O'Connell, you're under arrest for extortion, conspiracy, and threatening a federal witness. You have the right to remain silent." But Fiona wasn't listening. She stared at Liam with burning hatred. 13 years. 13 years I followed you from base to base, pretending to be happy in your perfect Coast Guard life. Do you know what it's like to start over every 2 years? To make friends just to leave them? To watch other wives build careers while I arranged my entire existence around your schedule?" Liam rolled down the window, the cool air doing little to calm his racing heart. "You knew who I was when you decided to marry me. You decided to destroy our marriage instead of talking to me." "Talking when? Between your patrols and meetings and precious military obligations? When exactly was I supposed to tell you I was drowning? Maybe before you started sleeping with Garrett. Maybe before you started plotting to hurt Sarah." "Sarah!" Fiona's voice rose to a shriek, raw and ragged. "That woman has been bleeding us dry for months. She was never going to stop." Martinez stepped closer, her voice calm but firm. "So, you decided to eliminate the problem permanently?" Fiona's defiance cracked, revealing a raw, guttural fear. "We were just going to scare her, make her understand she couldn't keep threatening us with what?" "The stolen chemicals from the base laboratory," Liam said, his blood going cold. "What chemicals?" Chen consulted his notes. "Mr. Vance used a security clearance to access restricted materials from the base chemical lab yesterday. Industrial solvents, primarily. The kind used for cleaning sensitive equipment. The kind that could dissolve a body," Martinez added matter-of-factly. Fiona went pale, her eyes wide with terror. We weren't going to. Garrett just thought." "Garrett thought what, Fiona?" But Fiona had finally stopped talking. The fight went out of her all at once, leaving her looking small and broken. Garrett, meanwhile, was in a separate vehicle, talking rapidly to agents, his hands gesturing frantically despite the zip ties. The body language of a man trying to make a deal. Martinez returned. "Mr. Vance is claiming the whole thing was your wife's idea. Says she threatened to leave him if he didn't help her solve the Sarah problem. He's offering to testify against her for a reduced sentence." Liam watched his wife being loaded into a federal transport, her head bowed, shoulders shaking. 6 years of marriage, shared dreams and quiet moments and future plans, reduced to this, a criminal conspiracy that destroyed everything they built. "What happens now?" Liam asked, his voice hollow. "Now they face federal charges. Conspiracy to commit harm against a federal witness, theft of government property, extortion, and depending on what we find in communications, possibly conspiracy to commit murder." Liam closed his eyes. "And Sarah?" "She'll face charges for extortion, but likely get a plea deal for her testimony. Her lawyer is already working with prosecutors." As the convoy disappeared down the dusty road, carrying Fiona and Garrett toward justice, Liam sat alone in the abandoned parking lot, trying to figure out how to rebuild from Betrayal's ashes. His phone buzzed. "Commander Hayes, heard about the arrests. Take all the time you need. Your job will be here when you're ready." Liam typed back, "Thank you. I'll be back soon." But driving home through the Oregon twilight, Liam wasn't sure he'd ever really be ready for anything again. Epilogue. 6 months later, Liam stood in federal district court in his dress blues, watching Judge Eleanor Vance sentence his ex-wife to 25 years in federal prison. Fiona, in an orange jumpsuit and shackles, had aged dramatically. Her blonde hair had grown out, showing stark gray roots. Her face was hollow, etched with the realization of the magnitude of her choices. Mrs. O'Connell, Judge Vance said, her voice carrying absolute authority. You have been found guilty of conspiracy to commit violence against a federal witness, extortion, accessory to theft of government property, and conspiracy to commit murder. Your actions represent not just a betrayal of marriage vows, but a fundamental violation of the trust placed in military families. Garrett had received 15 years after cooperating fully. His testimony painted Fiona as the architect of the escalating threats against Sarah, though he admitted to stealing the chemicals and helping plan what they called Sarah's final lesson. Sarah served 4 months in minimum security and received 2 years probation for extortion. She'd moved to Arizona after her divorce, opening a new yoga studio. She'd sent Liam a single postcard. Thank you for saving my life. I hope you find peace. Liam kept the postcard in his desk drawer next to the divorce papers and final court documents. Sometimes late at night, when the house felt too quiet and memories too heavy, he would read those words again. What wasn't questionable was that Liam had saved his own integrity. In the Coast Guard, integrity wasn't just a value. It was the foundation everything else was built on. Commander Hayes had been true to her word. Liam's position waited when he returned from emergency leave. If fellow officers knew details of his personal crisis, they were professional enough not to discuss it in his presence. The Coast Guard took care of its own, but expected its own to maintain standards. Liam had maintained his standards even when it cost him everything. Divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. Fiona, facing 25 years, had no leverage for property settlements or spousal support. Liam kept the house, cars, and what remained after legal fees. Her last communication was a letter through her attorney. I hope you're happy with what you've done to us. Liam never replied. Now standing in his empty house, truly empty, with Fiona's belongings long gone, Liam contemplated the orders he'd received that morning. Kodiak Air Station in Alaska, promotion to lieutenant commander, a fresh start, a chance to rebuild his career without shadows following him. He walked through each room one final time, remembering good moments despite everything after. Fiona bringing coffee in bed Sunday mornings, painting the kitchen that first weekend. Those memories weren't lies, even if everything else had been, real moments in a real relationship that had somehow transformed into something unrecognizable. His phone rang. Detective Santos. Lieutenant Commander O'Connell. Speaking. Update, Fiona's appeal was denied this morning. The sentence stands. I see. Liam felt nothing. There's something else. She asked her attorney to pass along a message. Liam waited. She says she's sorry for all of it. Liam was quiet. Thanks. After hanging up, Liam finished his walkthrough and locked the front door. His household goods had shipped to Alaska. His car was sold. Tomorrow, he would fly to his new assignment, his new life, his new chance to build something genuine. Driving away for the last time, Liam caught himself checking the rearview mirror. Not from nostalgia, but habit. Always watching for threats, scanning for danger. A survival skill that had served him well in his Coast Guard career and ultimately saved him in his personal life, too. As the plane lifted off from Portland, Liam looked down at the city that had been his home for 3 years and the site of his marriage's destruction. The rugged Oregon coastline stretched endlessly toward the horizon, beautiful and indifferent, eternal in a way that made human drama seem small and temporary. Somewhere below, Fiona was learning to live with the consequences of her choices. Sarah was building a new life in Arizona. Garrett was counting the years until release, and Liam was flying toward a future he couldn't yet imagine, but knew he had the strength to build. New plot setting overview. This new narrative is set in the Pacific Northwest, specifically around Portland, Oregon, and the rugged Oregon coast. The protagonist, Liam O'Connell, is a dedicated Coast Guard lieutenant, embodying a strong sense of duty and integrity. His wife, Fiona, is an artisan who crafts ceramic items, a seemingly innocuous profession that subtly hides her capacity for sharp, analytical thinking. The antagonist family, represented by Garrett Vance, a fishing charter captain, and his wife Sarah, an event planner, are entangled in a web of infidelity and escalating blackmail. The story culminates in a dramatic federal investigation and arrests, emphasizing the clash between personal betrayal and military honor in a distinctly American, coastal backdrop. I apologize, but I have already completed the entire story based on the previous prompt. The last response included the epilogue, which marked the conclusion of the narrative. If you would like me to generate a new story or continue with a different request, please let me know. Lessons from this story. Betrayal can lead to a cascade of destructive and criminal actions. Upholding one's integrity and moral principles is paramount, even at great personal cost. Unaddressed personal issues and desperation can escalate into dangerous conspiracies. Appearances can be deeply misleading, and trust must be continuously earned.